Milo Sarcev, and I'm here in a Fit Show studio to do my segment on the nutritional part of Secrets of the Pros. Nutrition is the most important part in bodybuilding, I would say. Even so that it's more important than training alone. But besides the bodybuilding, I do want to say that right nutrition is what is important for every human being. And many times bodybuilders don't get the credit when the credit is due. I would claim this, that it's 100% certain in my mind, bodybuilders do have the healthiest diet. Why? We do pay close attention to all the macronutrients, how much protein, carbohydrates, fat, calories we take throughout the day. And if you really think about it, combining all these nutrients in a small frequent meals throughout the day, bodybuilders do have what I would call ideal, optimal diet for human race. So I'm going to start with the basics, just to introduce basic nutritional points to all of you, with the intention to, at the end, make precise nutritional diet plan for each and every of you guys. I understand we're all different individuals with different needs, but everything boils down to pretty much the same. We have a goal. We're going to prescribe something that is going to basically get you to your goal. So let's start with the basic. Macronutrients that we have are three basic macronutrients: protein, carbohydrates, and fat. Carbohydrates and fat are energy-delivering nutrients, and only protein is a building nutrient, building material. So I'm going to just make little remarks here. This would be protein, and carbohydrates and fat on the other side. This is energy, and only protein is to build. Now when I talk about building and protein, a lot of you would think right away, oh, building muscle. That's not so. Protein is essential for the whole body. Everything we have, skin, hair, muscles, bones, organs, everything, enzymes, hormones, everything is made out of protein. So it's so essential that I would say it's absolutely most important. And really, protein, in essence, the word means most important. Carbohydrates and fat, as I said, is only energy. You cannot absolutely build ounce of muscle from carbohydrates or fat. This is just energy nutrients. So take it as energy demand requires. We take these two depending on demand. If we spend a lot of calories, we need a lot of energy, that's when we have high energy. But protein is most important, and I would say there is a big misconception as everybody reads this FDA recommendation. So RDA, recommended daily allowance for protein, is so minimum that I would say it's not even enough for mice, not a human being. And when experts, nutrition experts, confronted with this, they would basically say, hey, we are only saying that's minimal requirement for survival, so not optimal. Many clients that come to me and ask me for what I think of RDA for protein and say, why is like this? I would always emphasize this is minimal for survival. That's very important to remember. Optimal intake is something completely different. So what would I say is optimal? For everybody, right off the bat, not even bodybuilders or athletes, just average person, I would say it's 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. This is what I stand behind it 100%. 1 gram per pound minimum. For bodybuilders, I go as far as even 2 grams per pound. Now, I have to explain here what's the reason for that. If you take a 200-pound person, and you would take, let's say, some bodybuilder, 200 pounds, muscular, very active, with a goal to build as much muscle mass as possible, or 200-pound average person that really doesn't have that kind of goals in mind. And if you take the bodybuilder is training maybe twice a day very intensely, and the other person is sitting on a desk and do some computer work. If you listen to RDA, for what Food Drug Administration recommends to us, these two gentlemen should have a same intake of protein. Well, that's for me a big nonsense, because of course bodybuilder that needs to build muscle tissue, and this is the only building nutrient, obviously needs much more than person that doesn't have this as a goal. Another thing is, with intense training that bodybuilders do, we break down so much muscle tissue, lean tissue, that basically is nothing but a protein, amino acids. So as bodybuilders in intense training are breaking down muscle tissue and losing amino acids, they obviously require much more than average person, as I mentioned, 200-pound guy that really doesn't have that goal in mind. So 1 gram per pound of body weight, I would say, is for everyone. Each and every one of you that is watching this DVD is thinking about what is most appropriate amount. Take it from me, 1 gram, regardless if you're a guy that wants to build muscle, lose weight, maintain what you want. Healthy intake of protein is 1 gram per pound, period. I'm going to use a 200-pound as a reference, as it's easy to calculate. 200 grams of protein for each person would be only 800 calories from a protein sources. 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. So if you take that 200-pound guy would need to take 200 grams of protein, that would be 800 calories coming from protein daily. As you see, that's very low caloric intake. Ideally, I would say that this 200 grams of protein should be divided is as many small frequent intakes, small frequent meals. If you have a 200 grams of protein in one sitting, that's abundance of too much at once, and yeah, there will be a lot of trouble trying to absorb, digest, assimilate, process, eliminate, and so on. 200 grams, yes, is too much in one sitting. What are we getting by small frequent intakes? Let's say minimum 5 a day. If you're taking a 200 grams of protein in 5 small meals, there will be 40 grams of protein at the time. 40 grams for breakfast, snack, lunch, another snack, and dinner. That would ensure several things. First, that we have a small, frequent feeding that would give us certain kind of amino acids from various proteins that we're taking. They would ensure constant flow of amino acids into the bloodstream. So whenever our body needs protein for, let's say, muscle, it would have available for some other physiological or metabolic needs. It would take for, let's say, some organ, for hair, for red blood cells, for whatever. Whatever is physiological or metabolic need of the body, if is looking for protein, we must have it available. If you don't have it available, what happens is body have to take it from within. So it has to break down some tissue to get those amino acids needed. That's, in my opinion, and I hope you would agree, nonsense. If we can have amino acids available, why not? Well, we would ensure that at all times you would have a sufficient amount of amino acids. If you take 1 gram of protein per pound, 200-pound guy would take 200 grams of protein daily. 5 meals, 40 grams at a time. Let's say egg whites in the first meal, chicken in the second meal, steak, fish, or whatever source throughout the day that person would have, would give us amino acids from all those protein sources, and then we're going to have available in the bloodstream, so whenever it's needed, it's going to be there. Very important thing, because if some bodybuilder wants to build a lean tissue and have a tremendous workout, phenomenal workout, he gave that stimulation that is needed, for muscle to grow, but if we don't have a building material, enough protein, muscle is not going to get bigger, as simple as that. I always like to give that one example is if you have 100 guys that would like to build a house, and they come with the most advanced technology to construction to build a house, and they do not have enough building material, bricks or wood, 100 guys are going to look at each other and do nothing. They can't even build a house for mice. On another term, if there is two guys that have a willpower and they want to build a house and they have all the material needed, eventually they're going to slowly build not just a house, but even the biggest mansion. So what I'm trying to say here, if we have enough protein, our body absolutely can build anything we think about. For a bodybuilder, that would be a lot of muscle tissue. If we don't have enough, that will not happen. So all that hard work that we did during a training on DVD, Secrets of the Pros, on a fit show that you could see, every workout that I presented to you, not just that it's going to be ineffective, it's going to be even worse. If you train like this, you're going to absolutely break down the muscle tissue. You're going to lose all those amino acids. If you don't replenish it, you're going to get smaller than previously. So with my training program that I designed for you, without proper nutrition, I'm doing very bad favor for all of you guys. You're going to lose muscle size. And that's what happened to me in the beginning of my career as I trained with a huge intensity, with enthusiasm, believing that just training is important. I don't care about nutrition. We just eat whatever is served. I got smaller. After 3 months of training, about 3 hours a day, I actually got smaller. So make sure that 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight is your absolute minimum. 200-pound guy would have a 200 grams of protein. Why small frequent meals? As I said, first, that would ensure constant flow of amino acids. Secondly, a lot of protein needs different time to be processed and digest. For red meat, some kind of beef, it takes 24 hours for a body to break down the protein from beef. 24 hours. For some chicken, for example, that has a protein within a chicken, would take about 6 to 7 hours to be broken down, and we would have amino acids available. Fish is about 5 hours. Milk products, dairy between 1.5 hours, 2.5 hours. Coming down to, let's say, whey protein, there's a lot of supplemental whey protein powders, whey concentrate, isolate, hydrolysate, different kinds. It takes about 20 minutes to get amino acids from that source of protein. But the bottom line is, anything that we have, any kind of protein, eventually our body is going to break down to the amino acids, either free-form individual amino acids or peptides, bonded amino acids. When we have this, that's when our body can process and build various tissues and the muscle that we're looking for. So amino acids are building blocks that we need to build muscle. We must have it available, and the best way to ensure that we have is small, frequent meal throughout the day with at least 1 gram of protein per pound. That's for protein for now. On the other hand, carbohydrates and fat gives us energy. 1 gram of carbohydrate would give us 4 calories, and 1 gram of fat would be 9 calories. Many times dietitians and actually people that keeping the diet mostly talk about caloric intake. I take 2,000 calories, 5,000 calories, or whatever. And when I tell them, okay, how much of that is protein, carbs? Oh, I don't know, but I take 2,000 calories. 2,000 calories of right nutrients could be the best possible diet. 2,000 calories of whatever is not as efficient. It could be worst possible diet. So calories really don't mean much to me. It's just number at the end of the day when you actually calculate what you're taking. But for example, 1 gram of carbohydrate has 4 calories. And if you take, let's say, starchy complex carbohydrate source of, let's say, potato, and we would have 4 ounces about, and it's equal to about 18 grams to 20 grams of carbohydrates. That's 80 calories worth of carbohydrates. This is now energy that body can use. And if it's a need for that energy, body can use it very efficiently. And if there is no need for it, your body can convert it and store it. And that's what usually happens with the people that don't pay attention to what nutrients at what times they're taking. If they take too much carbohydrates, at a time when they don't need, this carbohydrate will be stored as a fat. I had many clients before that would virtually have almost no fat at all, with the logic that if I don't eat fat, I cannot get fat. And then they realized that, quite contrary, they gain a lot of fat. Why? Because they were eating way too much carbohydrates. They had way too much energy. So, as I said, protein is taken in a 1 gram per pound formula. Carbohydrates and fat individually, it's different among all of us. And if somebody has a tremendous energy output, energy expenditure, of course they need to have a appropriate intake. What do I do with carbohydrate intake? I watch somebody's 24-hour activity, and I give my recommendation for amount of carbs according to what that person is going to do throughout the day. So if they're going to wake up at a certain time in the morning, let's say 8, and they're going to be active in the next few hours, then they're going to have a little bit period of inactivity, then they're going to have a serious workout, and they're going to be up quite late at night, for example, and not very active, maybe going to bed at midnight. I would take this period of time and structure carbohydrate and fat intake accordingly. Some starchy complex carbohydrate in the morning would give us sustained, prolonged energy that the body can use in the next several hours. So I would certainly have some carbohydrate meal in the first meal. Then, as we said here, we are not very active. So here we had either a less demand, so we can have a less carbohydrates than here, or no carbohydrates at all, or type of carbohydrate that would give us a different kind of energy. It's, I would say, fibrous complex carbohydrates, let's say some kind of vegetable, that would give us calories per se, because it is caloric value in every vegetable, but there is not very many usable calories that body is going to use. So at the immediately before inactive period of time, we can have less energy, or let's say fibrous carbohydrates that can take us through next couple of hours without us feeling that we are dragging, have no energy. But this way we ensure that none of this carbohydrate can be converted into the fat. So that would be what I would suggest, some fibrous complex carbohydrate source or no carbs at all. Then we have a serious workout that for that workout we need some tremendous energy. So maybe 45 minutes before that we can have some quick source, not necessarily simple carbohydrates, but easily digestible starchy complex carb that would give us that energy for a serious workout. During the workout, we can have either additional energy, usually a simple carbohydrate source, sugars, Gatorade with some, let's say, glucose polymers, Vitargo, maltodextrin, glucose dextrose mixed with, let's say, branched-chain aminos or something like that. That's supplement that I can talk about later. But yes, at this time, as we have immediate need for energy, we can have some energy. During the training, what happens? As we contract, in every contraction of every repetition for every set of every exercise for every muscle, we do need cellular energy, ATP, and besides cellular energy, adenosine triphosphate, we are using glycogen as a stored source of carbohydrate in a skeletal muscle. We use glycogen as an energy source for our training. Weight resistance training as anaerobic activity takes carbohydrate as a primary source of energy, and carbohydrates that is either stored in the muscle or available from a dietary carbohydrate intake prior to the workout. So, during that 1 hour of strenuous physical activity, we deplete our glycogen storage. So immediately after, now we have a logical and legitimate reason to replenish what we have lost. And at that time, we can take some simple carbohydrates. Simple, which was contradictory to many experts' beliefs, and in bodybuilding there would be no simple carbohydrate intake for many years, because they said there's no need for sugar in bodybuilder's life. Until not so recently, let's say 7-8 years ago, many experts did realize that replenishing glycogen immediately post-workout is a quite good idea, and very logical to be replaced with simple carbohydrate source. Why? Glycogen, which is glucose, carbohydrate, glucose stored in the muscle, it's glucose and water. 1 gram of glucose with 2.7 milliliters of water is stored in a form of glycogen inside the muscle. So what do we need? We need glucose. It's monomer, it's monosaccharide, one molecule, as simple as it gets, one molecule of carbohydrate. Glucose plus water, right? This is the glycogen stored in the muscle. So after the workout, if we go with some complex carbohydrate source that our body needs to break down into the glucose, it would take our body so much time to do so. In the meantime, a window of opportunity when our body's physiological preference post-workout is to put all these nutrients right back into the muscle. If it's not there, body is losing that perfect chance. So many people did realize and did agree that that simple carbohydrate could be used immediately after the workout. Even though some experts would say that glycogen depletion is not some quick 1 hour thing, it's something that lasts forever. And I went into debates with many actually doctors and physiologists about this, and they would say, Milos, glycogen can be replenished 3rd, 4th, 5th, 10th hours after. And there is not really necessarily that you must take it right there and no other time. Well, I experimented with many athletes, and not just me, but several other people, including a friend of mine, Victor Conti from Balco Labs, that did legitimate carbohydrate loading after the training, and top professionals in various sports were having tremendous, unbelievable results immediately post-workout, replenishing glycogen, being able to continue training just several hours later. So even when you have that window of opportunity, let's say you have 2 workouts a day, 10 o'clock in the morning and let's say 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You deplete the glycogen in the morning, and there's only so many hours in between until the next workout. People that would not do what I'm talking about right now would be absolutely wasted and perform poorly in the second workout. People that would do what I'm preaching here, replenish glycogen immediately, will have tremendous results, and second workout would be as effective as first. My point here is just don't be stubborn and just go blindly with, okay, don't take sugars. Sugars are enemies. Sugars at the right times are best friends. And especially at this time after the workout, it would be most beneficial for all of us to take simple carbohydrate source. So to summarize what I was saying here, I know I'm going a little fast, but I want to tell you as much as I can in a short period of time. Starchy complex carbohydrate in the beginning of the day for a reason of sustained, prolonged energy. Without playing with the blood sugar levels, it's slow. Blood sugar level increase due to polysaccharides. It's a complex of molecules of glucose together in 2 forms of starches, amylose or amylopectin. They are giving us slow, sustained energy. Our body would break down those bonds between each molecule, so slowly glucose would be coming in the blood as next 2-3 hours after the complex carbohydrate intake. So first is starchy complex carb, giving us energy for the next few hours. Then we have a fibrous carbohydrates that gives us a little bit of usable energy, and mostly fiber that cannot be digested. Now, what does it happen? Let's say that this is a stick of celery. I like to use celery as an example in my seminars because people can associate to. If caloric value of this stick of celery is 5 calories in this one stick, and our body is trying to process this, digest, break it down, assimilate, eliminate, and everything else, our body is going to use more calories, like 10 calories, trying to digest 5. So this is so-called negative calories, and this is one thing that I say for people that diet. Use as much green leafy vegetables as they're going to have so much energy from your body taken to try to digest and process it that you're going to actually have negative calories. So yes, at that time, inactivity, no need for energy, that's when we take fibrous carbohydrates. Then we're going to have an extreme activity. So we need tremendous amount of usable energy. Prior to that, we use a source of carbohydrate that's going to give us that, jolt, that real energy for workout. During the workout, there's another option. We can have it in that workout session. And post-workout is what I'm saying are most important, because physiological preference of our body after the workout is to replenish everything that we have lost. Now, simple carbohydrates, glucose, what I was talking about, post-workout causes another very important thing. As glucose, blood sugar, goes into the bloodstream within 3 minutes. That's exactly how long it takes. After oral intake of glucose, it takes only 3 minutes for glucose to go into the bloodstream. And if you take a certain amount of Vitargo or dextrose or anything containing immediate glucose, it would shoot a blood sugar level sky high, which a lot of doctors would say it's not a good idea. Well, post-workout is a different story. That's when we do need high blood sugar, because high blood sugar is going to trigger a pancreas to release insulin. Insulin has to dispose all these glucose molecules because it's a high blood sugar. So insulin is released in the blood, and now would take all the nutrients available, which would be glucose from that simple carbohydrate source. And if we are smart, that high protein intake throughout the day is going to give us all the amino acids in the bloodstream. So when we do that post-workout sugar, we would find available amino acids, plus available glucose, plus available several other supplements I'm going to talk about. Insulin is storage hormone. It's most anabolic hormone. It would take the nutrients and store into the cells. Now, what cells are going to be affected? Post-workout, what did we just accomplish? Each muscle fiber that we train, each cell of each fiber is going to be emptied. So now we have empty space screaming to be replenished. So muscle that we just train is going to be exactly the most affected if we take simple carbs with all the amino acids and other valuable nutrients that we need. It's going to be shoved right back into the muscle cell of a muscle fiber of the muscle that we just trained. Whoever does this, they're going to see immediate response and tremendous results. Our body is the biggest computer. It's a surviving mechanism. If something affects our body, and our body is not in a normal state, our body wants to supercompensate. So let's give you one example that many of you can probably be familiar with. If you drink some amount of water, we are hydrated normally, and then we start dehydrating. For whatever reason, we don't drink water. Water is not available, or take some supplements, or take some pharmaceuticals. That makes us drop water. So we get in dehydrated state. Dehydrated state is not normal to the body. So once water is available, bodies start replenishing, but then it doesn't come just to the normal amount of water that we're holding. our body starts supercompensating, holding more and more and more to the point of edema. Our body holds so much water, that's that so-called rebound, because it sensed the danger. It was normal before, now dehydrated, and a body doesn't want to just go to normal, but to prevent dehydration from happening again, body puts a little bit more. And then after a few days, when they realize there's no more danger, body releases that water and comes back to normal. Well, that principle of supercompensation is something that bodybuilders should use constantly. And in this sense, at the training, as we deplete glycogen, ATP, amino acids, our body would supercompensate, put more ATP, put more amino acids, and put more glycogen back in the same muscle fibers due to that incredible power, storage power of insulin caused by simple carbohydrates post-workout. So that's a logic behind that. Do not be afraid of taking simple carbohydrates post-workout for that reason. And to summarize our carbohydrate intake, we take starchy complex carbohydrates in the beginning, fibers when we don't need energy, again some starchy carbs prior to the workout, simple carbohydrates during and post-workout, and then after this again, we don't need much energy, so we have no carbohydrates at all. That's one very good idea. Or again, fibers, carbohydrates at the end of the day. Most of you guys are going to ask, well, I heard that I shouldn't eat after 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9, whatever number. This is again some myth that goes around that do not eat after a certain hour because you're going to get fat. Not because hour is important. It's activity that is important. If you're going to be inactive, you don't need energy, you don't take energy. So at nighttime, we have no carbohydrates at all, or fibers. That would be carbohydrate intake. Now, due to, let's say, a popularity of Atkins diet, ketogenic diet, and some other, there will be no carbohydrates allowed. Carbohydrates are enemies. A lot of people were doing this very low carbohydrate or no carbohydrate, using a fat as an energy source. And some people had tremendous results, and I don't want to say it's a wrong diet. But as a nutrient, what is the safer nutrient, carbohydrates or fat? Well, fat, especially saturated kinds, and then bad trans fats and other kinds of fats that are not essential fatty acids needed to our body, the other fat is not really needed. So I don't say that that would be preferable source of energy. No. Some fat, yes, absolutely, it's needed. And usually in the protein sources that we have throughout the day, we would already have some hidden fat. Only important thing for fat is include some essential fatty acids. The omega-3, omega-6 essential fats, and then there are some other important fats, omega-9. There are some monounsaturated, polyunsaturated fats that our body needs, and it's good physiologically, it would use. That's one thing. But having too much fat, unnecessary fat, unhealthy fat, is something that nobody needs. So if you choose your diet, and I'm going to help you at the end structure exact diet to each and every one of you that is watching this DVD, before we finish, I'm going to have exact diet for every one of you. Fat intake would be, again, according to physical activity. If we spend X amount of energy, we're going to have a X amount of calories. If we spend Y or Z, we're going to have to find an exact amount. But fats, I would just want to say, as an energy source, it's not as healthy as carbohydrate. That's why my preference is protein and carbohydrates. However, I do have several clients that very successfully follow low carbohydrate, higher fat intake. But fat has to be very specific. So I'm going to have a 1 minute break to get something going here, and we're going to come right back for a next segment on the nutrition secret of the pros by Milo Sarcev. And we're back from intermission in the process of designing program, caloric intake for each and every one of you. I want to explain a couple more things that are very important. We're all different individuals, and I'm sure you heard about these different body types. So there are several body types, but I'm going to just mention the most important: ectomorphic, endomorphic, and mesomorphic type. To best describe and easiest for you to understand which body type you might be, ectomorphic is, let's think of a basketball player, skinny, tall, has a very hard time gaining weight. That's ectomorphic. Usually has a very high metabolism, and pretty much anything that he does, no matter how much he eats and so on, he can never gain weight. Those are those hard gainers, ectomorphic people. Then we have exactly the opposite, endomorphic. Think of somebody that is a little overweight. Usually they can, and that's what they say, they can drink water and gain weight. In sense of very little calories can still make them increase their body weight. And finally mesomorphic, and that's very muscular. Think of a bodybuilders with a large bone structure, very thick bones and broad shoulders and so on. That is mesomorphic. So we have a variation of those types. You can hear sometimes I'm ectomesomorph or endomesomorph and so on and so on. Whatever your type is, regardless, we can still find the best diet for you. You're talking about protein intake, carbohydrate, and fat. We established that everybody needs at least 1 gram of protein per pound, so that's a start for everyone. Now when we go into the specific body types, and we talk about that 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Ectomorphic possibly need more. And that's what I would say, start first with ectomorphic. If you're a hard gainer and you have a hard time putting the muscle mass, try immediately with a higher protein intake. So for ectomorph, I would go already with 1.5 and quite possibly even as much as 2 grams of protein per pound. This is the amount of protein that I also recommend to competitive bodybuilders. This whole Secrets of the Pros diet nutritional segment, it's for average sedentary person, not necessarily competitive bodybuilder. So when I said that 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, that was not only for bodybuilders, that is for everyone. Now for competitive bodybuilders, we need a higher protein intake, and for ectomorphs, 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Endomorph, as I said before, has trouble losing weight. And still for the endomorph, I would keep very high protein intake and then reduce other macronutrients, carbohydrates, and fat. So even for endomorph, I would suggest 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Not necessarily 2, but 1.5. As you can imagine, when we set the diet, endomorphic people would have a low fat intake and low carbohydrate intake, so something has to be high, and the safest nutrient out of those three would be protein. So 1.5 gram of protein per pound of body weight, even for endomorph. Mesomorphic people are fortunately very muscular. It's the best type if you want to be a competitive bodybuilder. We have even 8-time Mr. Olympia Lee Haney, who would claim that throughout his career he only needed 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And Lee Haney is very well respected, great athlete, great gentleman, wonderful person all around, but he was very well known for his nutritional knowledge. I attended some of his seminars, and I talked to him personally many times. He believes that if you're mesomorphic and you train very intense, you can get away with 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, and he did, winning 8 Mr. Olympia titles. So I don't want to say it's impossible. I would not exclude that possibility. So mesomorphs can try with the 1 gram of protein per pound, and if they're not getting desirable results, then they can increase maybe to 1.5 or in between. So protein intake for those 3 types I mentioned here, and I wrote it during the break. We were taking that 200-pound person, and as I said, we started with 200 grams of protein. Carbohydrate, I decided to put, like this example, between 100 and 500 grams, for different body types. And fat in between 30 and 100 grams, also depending on the body type. So here was a endomorphic person. You have a trouble losing weight, I would give you 100 grams of carbohydrates for start. So each and every one of you that is watching this DVD and you're designing your nutrition program right now, if you believe you are endomorphic, start with the 200 grams of protein and the 100 grams of carbohydrates. Okay. If you are mesomorph, very muscular, I would put you on about 200 grams of carbohydrates, same amount of protein. This is 200 carbs, 200 protein. If you're mesomorphic, but you're very active, I would increase this from 300 to 500. If you're extremely active, you can go as high as 500. If you train twice a day, on top of that you have some kind of physical activity in your job, you possibly need even 500. If you're mesomorph, but you're very inactive, then you should stay at the 200 to 300 grams of carbohydrates range. If you're ectomorph, very high metabolism, very hard gainer, you can't really gain muscle mass for the life of you. Probably some of that protein that you're taking, your body is converting into the carbohydrate for that energy that is needed, so your body doesn't have enough protein building material. That's why you should go as high as 500. This is just, general, like this overview, because goal of this DVD is I want each and every one of you to come up with the exact diet by the end of the DVD. So we were talking about protein intake, important to have sufficient amount of amino acids floating in our system 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that at any time we have amino acids or protein available for all the physiological and metabolic needs. I established 1 gram per pound for average person. If you are the bodybuilder, competitor, you should go higher. So endomorphic, as I said, can go, there was 200 grams of protein, 1 gram per pound, and as I suggested, up to 1.5 gram of protein. That's 300 grams of protein. If you're endomorph, you're not training, bodybuilding is not your interest, you just want a healthy diet, 200 grams of protein. If you're endomorph, but you still want to try to build some muscle, not necessarily to compete, but want to get some muscle going on, 300 grams of protein. If you're endomorph and you really want to become professional bodybuilder, you can go as high as 400 grams of protein. So we are talking about endomorphic person has a trouble losing weight. You can take 100 grams of carbohydrates and between 200 and 400 grams of protein. 400 if you want to be competitor at the sooner the better, the fastest possible time, 400 grams. If you are just a bodybuilder that trains and want to have adequate amount, 300. And if you're just the average person that doesn't necessarily need to compete or build muscle, just want to have a healthy diet, 200. That's endomorphic. We are moving on to the next person, mesomorph. So those are the bodybuilders kind of blessed, genetically that from their parents they got the genes to be very muscular to begin with. Those are lucky ones, but as I usually start with 50% protein, 50% carb for all of my clients, if you're just mesomorphic, but you don't have a competitive goals, you don't even really train, you're just an average person but want to get in shape, 200 grams of carbohydrates for start with the 200 grams of protein. If you, however, want to become a bodybuilder, start training, you can go 1.5 gram of protein. So now mesomorphic person is going to take 300 grams per pound. 300 grams a day, 1.5 gram per pound. And if you're really thinking of competing, then you should go as high as 2 grams of protein per pound, 400 grams of protein total daily. If you're ectomorph and you have a really hard time gaining a muscle mass, I would say that immediately you should start with the 1.5 gram of protein per pound. And very soon, I believe you're going to realize that that's not enough. So even ectomorphic person is going to go immediately to the same range, 300-400 grams of protein. As you can see, the difference is in the carbohydrate. Ectomorphic is going to have so much more carbohydrates, but the amount of protein, as you see, pretty much all three types would have between 300 and 400 if they are training. If they're not really interested in a muscle mass increase, they're just sedentary individuals that do the normal job, 1 gram of protein per pound could be sufficient. That's a protein intake. Carbohydrate intake for a mesomorph is if active mesomorph, you should take between 300 and 500, inactive between 200 and 300. So how do we do this really practically when I do the diet for somebody? Let's say that ideally we have a minimum 5 meals a day. That's a minimum. It can be actually much more. And I do prefer to have more than 5 meals a day. So here would be protein, carbohydrates, and fat. If you take in consideration 200 grams, then 5 meals a day would be 40 grams of protein, right? However, if it's 300 grams, there will be 60 grams of protein. And if it's 400 grams of protein a day, that would equal to 80 grams of protein per meal. Here is now another problem. There is a myth going around that only 30 grams of protein is a magic number, can be assimilated in one sitting. And that's exactly what I said, myth. There is absolutely no proof of anything like this. But I heard it so many times I have to mention it because I'm sure that this is coming. How much can human body assimilate in one sitting? I certainly don't want to recommend necessarily to take 80 or more, but to answer that question, absolutely, positively, body can assimilate any amount. As I was talking before, what happens with that protein? Your body has to break it down, and it's hours-long process, unless it's some dietary supplement like whey protein that is much quicker. But your body has to process this, break down, digest, assimilate, and everything else, and this is a long process. So when you eat that 80 grams, let's say, of protein, of let's say steak and eggs in the morning, it will take you hours before your body is going to get amino acids from that protein. So don't be alarmed and say, whoa, that's too much. But to make something much easier for everyone, if your required amount is high, 400 grams of protein, then obviously 5 meals is not enough. We can maybe add in between few more. And ideally for this, I would have let's say, 50, 60 grams of protein and have additional meals in between, which could be protein shakes, meal replacement drinks, anything that is convenient for you that it's possible and realistic to expect that you can maintain so many, let's say, 5 solid meals and 2, 3, 4 shakes. So if you're going with the 400 grams of protein as an extreme, that's professional bodybuilders and anybody that is considering competing and getting really a lot of lean muscle tissue in the shortest period of time, high amount of protein, up to 2 grams per pound is what I recommend. If it's 400 grams of protein, let's say you would have a 50 grams in 8 meals. So we can add it like this, 6, 7, 8. I'm hoping that I'm not losing you here. 8 meals, 50 grams of protein each meal. 50, 50, 50, 50, so on, all the way to the end. That is extreme. That is the hardest case scenario. 200 is much easier, as we said before. 300 in between. I'm going with the hardest. It's going to be really easy for you to adjust the number. So if you do want to be a professional bodybuilder and beat Ronnie Coleman next year, you want to, besides qualifying and all that stuff, that's not really that complicated to do. This is more complicated. 400 grams each and every day, continuously, constantly, this is what's going to get you results. This is not something you can do one day and then have 2 days off, 3 days on, 2 days. Protein is constant. I mentioned that for many years, I was on 500 grams of protein daily, continuously for 20 years. And today, as we speak, I'm still on 500 grams of protein. My protein intake doesn't change. Carbohydrate and fat changes. Pre-contest, off-season, doesn't matter when, protein intake is constant. And for you, if you want to be a competitive bodybuilder and you want to go 400 grams of protein, find the easiest way how you can intake 400 grams of protein in, let's say, 8 meals. I was talking about various protein sources. Interestingly, a good friend of mine is Charles Poliquin, a great strength coach, not one of the best, I do believe, the best strength coach in the world, and he's also a nutritionist, and he does a lot of tests for various athletes. Interestingly, he tested for food allergies in several athletes, and what was really disturbing to find out, athletes get allergic to exact food they are eating constantly and continuously. So, for example, I was tested, and at that period of time I was on high protein intake, and my protein choice was mainly chicken, and I tested allergic to chicken. I stopped taking chicken for a while, and 3 weeks later, I went back and I showed no allergy, for chicken. However, I was now allergic to beef, as I was eating beef constantly. And then the same process happened. Is every time that I would get off a certain food, I would normalize. But then I tried to do something different. I start mixing the proteins, and to this day, I do believe that this is the best, the most logical way of doing it. I would have a different protein source every time. So let's say I would start with egg whites, then would have a chicken, then would have a fish, then would have some steak, let's say dairy product, cottage cheese, or some form of casein and so on. And in between, I would have a protein shakes. Even protein shakes, I would vary. I would take whey, fast absorbing protein post-workout when I need quick amino acids, and I would go from whey concentrate to whey isolate to whey hydrolysate, different types of whey. High molecular weight, low molecular weight, doesn't matter. It's always mixing, so you never let body adapt to anything. So source of protein would be different throughout the day, and I solved my problem in a sense of food allergies. So as we're designing now diet for everyone, consider this. Instead of just chicken, try to mix and match. Go with different kinds of protein all the time. Turkey breast, very good source. Wild game, phenomenal. Ostrich, buffalo, emu. There's many great sources, many different seafood choices. So high protein intake is what I believe the biggest problem for all of us. Training is not as demanding. The biggest problem that I have with many athletes is following the diet and maintaining high amounts of protein day in and day out. So this is really, if you want to be a competitive bodybuilder, this is the must. minimum 300 to 400, and I would say go with 400. I really believe that 2 grams of protein per pound is what it takes. So that's protein intake. Carbohydrates, as we were talking about, we take it as energy demand. In the morning, as soon as we wake up, of course, there was a certain amount of hours that we were sleeping, we were inactive, and at that time, our body would, as we sleep, still use energy, deplete our glycogen storage, so we would wake up in the morning, and more than likely, we would have a low energy due to 6 or 8 hours of use of glycogen as we were sleeping. So first, I would take some complex starchy carbohydrates in the morning to give us some sustained energy. And as this is a complex starchy carbohydrate, I would do for all 3 types, regardless. Mesomorphic, ectomorphic, endomorphic, we still wake up and we need some energy. Okay. Throughout the day now, things change. Endomorphic don't have enough allowance. They only have 100 grams of carbohydrates a day, so they don't have much room to play with. Unfortunately, I do feel bad for them, but this is the way it is. If you take, let's say, 50 grams of carbohydrates there is another 50 grams that you can distribute somewhere. Let's say that workout is about right here, just example. Doesn't matter what it is. Maybe we could consider that immediately after workout or immediately before workout, we should consider for endomorphic people adding some carbohydrates. My choice is post-workout to replenish the glycogen. So, and throughout the day, no carbs whatsoever for endomorph or fibrous carbs, green leafy vegetables. Ectomorphic, they are in high carbohydrate demand, so they do need pretty much carbohydrate in each and every meal. They're lucky ones. They can eat really as much as they want. So ectomorphic can structure this, what we were talking about, 500 grams of protein, even 500 grams of carbohydrates, even more throughout the whole day. Mesomorphic bodybuilders, depending if they train once a day or twice a day, we can now manipulate and structure always first thing in the morning, a little bit before the workout. I like to use it during the workout, and absolutely necessary immediately after the workout. To complete the diet program, I want to summarize now everything I talked about so far. Secrets of the pros diet. We said 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight for everyone. Each and every one of you guys, 1 gram of protein per pound, that's it. If you're an athlete, you can go up to 1.5 grams. And if you're a bodybuilder, especially competitor trying to put as much muscle mass, you go 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Carbohydrates, choices, complex starchy, complex fibrous, as simple carbohydrates. Complex starchy carbs are taken in the morning or before physical activity, before energy demand. Starchy complex carbohydrates give us slow, sustained energy. It's polysaccharides. So think about this. You take it before some activity. When? In the morning when you wake up, or before physical activity. Fibrous carbohydrates, vegetables, anytime. No limit, everybody, all the time. No limit. Why? Fiber cannot be digested. Actually, body is going to use a lot of energy trying to digest it. It gives us a lot of fiber needed, to eliminate certain things, and for that reason, it's absolutely, positively free for all, anytime, as much as you want. Simple carbohydrates or sugars only during and or after the workout. As we were talking about replenishing of glycogen, simple carbohydrates only at that time. So again, carbohydrate can be simple and complex. Complex, starchy or fibrous. Starchy when we need the energy, sustained slow energy, that's when we take it. Sources like potato and rice and pasta and stuff like this, grains, anything like this, it's before physical activity. Fibrous carbohydrates, anytime, more better. And finally, simple carbohydrates, even though they were having a bad name and bodybuilders would not use absolutely, especially in 70s and 80s. And early 90s, everybody was staying away from sugars in the middle of 90s, and now everybody does take simple carbohydrates when, during, and after the workout for a reason of replenishing glycogen. Finally, fat as a third macronutrient. I would say let's try to take minimal amount daily, minimal. Unless you're really on an Atkins diet and you have no carbohydrates whatsoever, then you should replenish with the fat. But otherwise, if you're taking carbohydrates in the plan that I just presented, fat should be minimal throughout the day because it's hidden in all protein sources. Chicken, fish, steak, anything like this has hidden fat. And normally, mostly would be saturated fat, unfortunately. Only fish also have some hidden fats, have essential fats in it, but other than that, beef, anything else, mostly have a saturated fat. So don't take any extra fat unless it's essential fat. Essential fats, omega-3, omega-6 fatty acids, are physiologically needed. Essential means our body cannot produce, and that's why we need to take. It has to be a daily dietary intake of essential nutrients. So fat, to summarize important issues, do not take any extra. Take just a minimal amount daily, which is usually hidden in all your high protein meals. If you remember, you have to take 400 grams of protein. Absolutely necessarily in all that protein is going to be a lot of hidden fat. I would just give you examples so you don't have to go to the nutritional books and try to find nutritional information. 4 ounces, or about 100 grams, if you're from Europe and you're on the metric system, 4 ounces of any kind of meat is between 20 and 25 grams of protein. Chicken breast, turkey breast, fish, steak, anything else, it's about 20 to 25 grams of protein. Now, how much fat? It can vary, for chicken and turkey, 2, 3, 4 grams of fat. To the steak can be, very high. Lean cuts of steak, the leanest is London broil. That's my choice. It's 4 to 5 grams, which is very low, if you would admit. Or go very high to 30, 40 grams of fat. And that's, I think, unnecessary and the wrong choice. A lot of people would tell me how about cheeses? Yes, cheese has some protein, yes, but unnecessary, too much fat. And don't forget, you need to take 400 grams of protein, right? But only minimal amounts of fat, let's say maximum 100. So you cannot take some nutrients that is 50% protein, 50% fat, because by the time you would have a 400 grams of protein, it would be way too much fat. So you have to be, choosing that, yes, you can have a little bit, but not too much. Total amount of macronutrients, protein, fat, and carbs are what is important. I don't want to talk about calories. Calories are just final number at the end that you can multiply for you to understand where you are. But 400 grams of protein is a must, and no more than 100 grams of fat would also be a must. So choose your proteins very carefully. As I was talking about the fat, we talked about essential fats. They are omega-3, alpha-linolenic acid, and omega-6 linoleic acid. It's physiologically needed in a minuscule amounts, fortunately, so we don't need to really take a huge amounts. But as body needs it, body should get it. So make sure you take some. And the best sources would be fish oils, and one of those protein meals I would prefer if it's a fish meal. Therefore, you're going to have a good amino acids coming from fish and also essential fats coming from fish oils. Let's say Udo's Choice Oil. I am not endorsing any products here, but Udo Erasmus is really world-class expert, and he wrote a book, Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill. That's popular Udo's Choice oil that I would say is the best oil out there. So if you never tried it, please do so. It's an excellent source of omega-3, omega-6 fatty acids. Omega-6, okay, flax seed oil is also a good choice for omega-3. Omega-6 would be sunflower oil as well, canola oil. And omega-6, fortunately, a lot of Americans and people in Europe take a sufficient amount anyway, so that's not a really true worry, but omega-3 is. I have some people that are just strictly against any kind of saturated fats. Saturated fats are still needed. Hormones are made out of saturated fats, so we do need some. And we have this argument that people will say we need it, and some people no, absolutely we don't. We do need small amounts, but that amount is already in, as I say, hidden in all the protein sources that we are taking. So omega-3, omega-6, please do it. If you don't take in oil form, there are some capsules form, dietary supplements available. But this would get us to our final chapter of this Secrets of the Pro Diet, that I want to, together with you now, structure a diet for all of you, including myself. We were talking about small, frequent meals throughout the day. And I say preferably, minimum 5 to, let's say, as much as 12. If you can really eat every hour, so be it. That's even better. One thing that I didn't really discuss in the details, but I'm going to mention right now, there are two very important things that we should consider. One is thermic effect of food or feeding, and thermic effect of exercise. Thermic effect of food or feeding is calories that our body is going to use trying to process some kind of food. So first, I want to say is like, if you have a 200 or 2,000 or any amount of calories in one sitting, or have identical food in identical amount in, let's say, 2 sittings, because we have 2 times that we take the certain amount of food, thermic effect of feeding is going to be higher in 2 meals rather than 1, even though we are taking identical food. So, for example, if you take twin brothers or sisters, or let's say it's triplets, and the parents would feed exact food, exact because they love their kids exactly the same, so they give them the same choices and same amounts. And one would take old food, whatever that might be, in 1 sitting, and a second in 3, and a third one in 5. The kid with the 5 meals is going to have the best nutritional benefits, is going to lose the most amount of body fat, and they're going to have a best absorption of all the nutrients. And besides this, because of elevated thermic effect of feeding, is going to, like I said, lose most weight. And that's one thing that a lot of you probably people that purchase this DVD, you want to lose weight. So this is that one little trick. Every time we eat, our metabolism increases. And that's why I was talking about 5 meals are much better than 1 or 2 or 3, because every time we eat, something happens. Imagine if I just swallowed this pen right now, something is going to happen. Your body is not just going to let it go. It's going to try to process, digest, and eliminate. And in that process, a lot of calories are going to be burnt. So if you have a same amount of food and same choices for 3 different kids, and we take at once, a lot of it is going to go to waste, and it's going to be only 1 time elevation of metabolism due to feeding. If you have 5 times, there's going to be 5 times during that day elevation of metabolism due to this feeding process that the body is going to try to absorb everything. So that's why we are going with the frequent small meals, to elevate thermic effect of feeding. Also, macronutrients all having a different TEF number, which we would say. Protein and starchy, fibrous, complex carbohydrates have the highest thermic effect of eating, and fat have the lowest. So that's why also the diet that bodybuilders are using, and the diet that I'm recommending to you, which is high in protein and high in fibrous carbohydrates, is also for that reason, for high thermic effect of eating. Thermic effect of exercise obviously means exactly this, that our body, as we exercise, we are physically active, is burning more calories. So that thermic effect from the more the better exercises, instead of being couch potato, doing some computer work, or not really doing anything physical. Those are the two aspects how a person can lose weight, these two. I'm going to digress from our Secrets of the Pro diet just for one very important reason, I do believe, because, as I said, some of you guys are here to learn how to lose weight. And I feel obligated to explain one thing, as in the last 15 years I've seen over and over people making the same cardinal mistake. And this is what is needed to be explained. Let's say that your best friend, or your fiance, or your sister want to lose some weight. And she wants to lose a considerable amount of weight because she's overweight due to her habits in last, let's say, a part of her life. So logically, don't blame her. Everybody does it. Most of the people, and mostly ladies, believe in order to lose weight, right, they need to eat less. The minimal amount they eat, the better. That's their thinking, believing that, oh, if I don't eat, I'm going to lose. So let's say that the average lady that would have a, let's say, 2,000 calories metabolic rate. What does that mean? Metabolic rate means that this is how many calories that person is going to use throughout the day without losing or gaining. That's their maintenance level. There is so-called basic metabolic rate. That's how much calories are burnt in if person is resting. And then everything you do throughout the day is adding to it. That thermic effect of eating, thermic effect of exercise, all add to the BMR, basic metabolic rate. But let's say 2,000 calories is the amount of calories that that person burns daily, including everything, BMR and all her activities. So today, tomorrow, next day, every single day, if this person eats 2,000, she's going to maintain the same level. So as I said now, they want to lose weight. So they believe, I'm just going to stop eating. I'm going to eat very little. I'm going to go down to, let's say, 1,500 or 1,000 calories. Let's go for drastic, not just 15. Let's go for 1,000, as I've seen many ladies do that. So first day, she's going to do this, and second day, and third day, and fourth, and so on. And within a week or a couple of weeks, she's going to stand on the scale and say, yes, this diet is working. I'm losing weight. This is great. So obviously they're accomplishing something. They believe that this is the right diet. Well, what happens here? First day, her body needs 2,000 calories, and she has only 1,000 intake. Well, on this day, particular day, body is missing 1,000 calories. It's going to take it from somewhere. So your body is going to go into the energy reserve. There is body fat as energy reserve, and a glycogen as an energy reserve. Glycogen is stored in the liver and the muscle, and that's a carbohydrate, if you remember, stored, for emergency situation. And here it is. Emergency situation, 1,000 calories are missing. We got to get it. So body breaks down glycogen. If you remember, there was 1 gram of glucose and 2.7 milliliters of water. Well, body's going to break that glycogen molecule, use the glucose as energy, and release the water. So if you step on a scale right there and then, you're going to be lighter because a lot of water is gone. I will be honest and say that it's not going to be all 1,000 calories they're missing coming out of glycogen only. Some body fat at that time would be also used. But what else? Muscle tissue. Muscle tissue, your body's going to try to break it down and get rid of it to find this 1,000 calories they're missing today. So after one day, that person's going to lose some weight, 100% for sure. I'm going to give her that. Next day, she does the same. Again, 1,000 calories are missing. And the next day, and the next day. And in that process, body is going to now be in survival mode. What that means? Body senses there is a big discrepancy. There is 1,000 calories missing. And at this pace, if 1,000 calories is missing every day, body would eventually die. Because energy is needed for life. And every day, if it's missing, and her body is using 2,000 daily, that's her metabolic rate, only 1,000 is taken, body would eventually get in so much trouble and would die. And survival mode means that now body wants to adapt. Body is always the best adaptive mechanism. So first day, second day, third, 1,000 calories are missing. The only way the body is going to try to survive is to adapt to this new metabolic rate. And body is going to start dropping metabolic rate. It's going to need less because less is given. So after several days or several weeks, now body is going to adapt to 1,000 calories. So now no longer this person can eat 2,000 calories and not gain and not lose weight. He's going to have to adapt and understand that right now 1,000 calories is her new metabolism, metabolic rate. If she eats more, she's going to gain weight. If she eats less, which happens here, she's going to lose. She absolutely lost some weight here in this process. Yes. But a lot of this is water. Water is the main loss, some body fat, and a lot of muscle. Why muscle? This is what happened. Let's say that this is 1 pound of fat. Everything in the body, all the organs, all the tissues have so-called metabolic activity. Body needs certain amount of calories for each part to survive. 1 pound of fat, whatever is located in our body, needs to be maintained 9 calories a day. In 24 hours, our body is going to use 9 calories out of all the food that we are eating to maintain this 1 pound of fat. 1 pound of muscle tissue, let's say, needs 69 calories daily. So to maintain this muscle tissue, our body needs 7 times more than maintaining the fat. If you were ever wondering, this is why bodybuilders can eat 5,000 calories daily. As I said, for 20 years I'm eating 500 grams of protein, 500 grams of carbohydrates, which is 4,000 calories right there, with additional 100 grams of fat. I've been on 5,000 calories, forever. And, as I can say again, I did this quite some time to be a show-off. This is my condition at any time, right? This is why? Because I have a lot of muscle tissue, and muscle tissue needs calories to be maintained. So what happened here? If every day this person would just lose the body fat, it would be very inefficient. If a body loses 1 pound of fat, it's saving only 9 calories daily. But body is missing 1,000. So body recognizes, if I lose 1 pound of fat, I'm only saving 9 calories. But if I drop 1 pound of muscle, I save a considerable amount of calories. So in this process, as I was saying, as body is adapting to the new metabolic rate, a lot of muscle loss, water loss, and little of a fat loss occurred. The problem is that now here, this person is stuck. Next day, next day, next day, every day now, this person, lady, that wants to lose weight desperately, is eating only 1,000 calories, but is not dropping another ounce. And in this desperate desire to lose more weight, that person decides to go even lower to, let's say, 500 calories. And what happens? In the next few days, again, that person loses some additional weight, but eventually same thing happens. So metabolism goes from 2,000 down to 1,000, and then another little loss, and then boom, same thing happened. Every day now on 500 calories, you cannot lose an ounce because body adapt to this as well. So we are all just human beings. Eventually, that person is going to say, well, to the hell with this diet. I had it. After all this suffering, I'm stuck and not much happened. And if this person at this point would do the body composition test, even though she could drop 30, 40, 50 pounds, the body fat level would not be dramatically reduced. Muscle tissue will be dramatically reduced. But as this metabolic activity of a lean muscle tissue is so important, as I was saying, every pound of muscle we have, it would require extra 69 calories a day to maintain this tissue. So imagine if you lose 10 pounds of muscle, that's 690 calories now that your body needs less. So if this lady lost 10 pounds of muscle in this process, yes, she will need 700 calories less daily anyway. That's why her metabolic rate is so low anyway. But as I was saying, after a certain period of time, she's going to just say, well, I'm just going to go back to my normal diet. This is what I've been eating for quite so many years, and I didn't gain, I didn't lose. I was always happy. I eat 2,000 calories and I'll be fine. Well, now she's going to go and eat exact food that she was eating here. All of a sudden, boom, she's going to start gaining tremendous amount of fat. Obviously, logically, her metabolic rate now is only 500, and if she eats 2,000, is 1,500 calories too many. Her body needs only 500. It's given 2,000. 1,500 is now surplus. It's too much, so body is going to store it, and stores in a fat. So several weeks after this, on this kind of diet, this person is ready to commit suicide. And this is that yo-yo dieting, and this is what happens to so many. And if you know some of the dieters that did this, and your friends, relatives, and loved ones, please explain them this, because that never works. It's catastrophic, and puts people in a bad physical, mental state, and everything else. And beside, this is unhealthy. Not to speak that is malnutrition. And as you know, nutritional deficiency is a cause of so many diseases nowadays. So really, besides aesthetically look that we want to achieve, for health reasons, this kind of diet it's horrible. This is the worst thing that anybody can do to themselves. Malnutrition, please stop anybody that is doing this. Because like I said here, they work so hard, they diet, they starve, they suffer, and the result is catastrophic. So body is going to just start gaining fat, gaining fat, gaining fat, and gaining fat. So how can this lady, your sister or fiance, anybody, actually lose weight if her metabolic rate is 2,000 and she wants to drop? Obviously, this does not work. But remember what I was saying about muscle tissue. Muscle is the best fat burner. You want to burn body fat? Build some muscle. As I said, bodybuilders and physically active people, athletes that have a lot of muscle tissue can eat so many calories and never gain weight. Why? Because of physical, metabolic activity of lean tissue. If I would implant, let's say, 10 pounds of lean tissue under the skin to that person, she's going to immediately have a 700 calories more metabolic rate. So her body's going to need 2,700. So if she eats only 2,000 like she was eating here, 700 is going to be used for energy reserve. The only way this person is going to successfully get in shape, lose body fat, is if she increases metabolism. And metabolism can be increased, as we talk about here, with the thermic effect of exercise. Let her exercise as often, as much as possible. Have her be physically active. And thermic effect of feeding, as we were talking about, right choices, protein and fibrous complex carbohydrates, vegetables, and frequent meals. To boost everybody's metabolism, that's the way to do it. So we were talking about 5 possible meals, or maybe 10. Always remember, the more the better. Every time you eat, metabolism increases, so it's your interest. If you can be so specific and so determined and disciplined to have 10, 20 meals a day. I know some people that take every hour, they would take a meal. Wonderful. Few bites. Protein and fibrous complex carbohydrates, they would get in shape in no time. So to boost metabolism, which is desire of probably 90% of the people that are watching this DVD, to increase the metabolism, you can do it with increasing thermic effect of exercise and thermic effect of feeding. Number 1 is more physical activities. Train, train, train. In the DVD, you can see correct way to train. For ladies, don't be afraid of weight resistance training. Absolutely, positively, you can lift the weights. You're going to burn some calories in process, but what you're going to do, you're going to build some lean tissue, and that lean tissue is going to, in turn, make you burn more body fat daily. Do not be afraid to train. We were going to have a special offer here with the Secrets of the Pro DVDs that I have my wife, Milomar Flores, offering her a training video. Also, look for that special. But I'm going to go back to what we are talking about here. Ladies always believe that, if I pick up the dumbbells, I'm going to look like you, Milosh. I'm going to be big, so I don't want to train. Please believe me, that doesn't happen overnight. If that was the case, all the guys, around you would look like me. So building the lean tissue is not an overnight process. And ladies, if you guys train specifically, and there's information on my DVD here and also on my wife's, there are different muscle fibers, fast twitch muscle fiber and slow twitch muscle fiber. Slow twitch endurance fiber it's not going to give you that size. It's going to give you muscle shape, definition, muscle tone, but it's not the one that creates a volume. That's a fast twitch muscle fiber for bodybuilders. If you train specifically, as explained on the DVD, we get the stimulation, we stimulate fast twitch muscle fibers with the proper nutrition, we're going to cause hypertrophy or growth. If you train slow twitch muscle fiber, that's not going to happen. So for ladies, please don't avoid weight resistance training. That's a wrong thing to do. Cardiovascular activity is great. Yes, please do it. But cardiovascular activity is catabolic activity. It can make you lose muscle tissue. And if you remember, muscle is our friend, not enemy. Friend in sense of high metabolic activity of this would cause you to lose a lot of calories daily. For final secrets of the pro's diet, I have to say this about the weight loss, but secrets of the pro's diet, number one would be frequent small meals. Frequent small meals. Number one. Number two is high protein intake and protein in every meal. High protein intake in every meal. Do you remember 1 gram of protein per pound minimum, up to 2 grams of protein, for each. Number three, fibrous carbohydrates, vegetables, anytime. Anytime. The more the better. For people that want to lose weight, gain weight, want to do anything, get pretty, doesn't matter what they want to do, fibrous carbohydrates, anytime. Essential fats added. Small, minuscule amount, of course, needed, but please, if it's essential, that means needed, so take it. And carbohydrate, carbs, taken as demanded. This is one thing that each and every one of you guys is going to have to be honest to yourself and find appropriate amount. It's not that difficult to do. It's not that difficult to do. As I said, many of you guys, I don't know who you are. I don't know individually, your body type, your physical activity, and everything. But seriously, this program would work for everyone if you consider. And here we go. Final chapter of this diet. 8 meals for everyone. Protein has to be included in every meal. All of us need it. I need 2 grams per pound. If you need minimum 1 gram per pound, that's okay. Let's try to be 8 meals a day, all of us. If you remember, I said different protein sources. Let's go with egg whites. I think it's common for everyone. Let's go with a 1 steak meal. Red meat, so a lot of people are going to say, oh my God, lean cuts of, let's say, London broil. It's very low fat, 4 grams or 5 grams of fat in 4 ounces. That's nothing. Because steak has such a long time to be processed, I like to take it later in a day, and usually at the time when I have a less carbohydrates, which is at nighttime, that's when I have a higher fat protein source. So let's say here, it can be even a last meal. So egg whites here, beef. Chicken is common, right? Let's say any meal here. Chicken breast. Turkey, I don't know if you heard about all this tryptophan, amino acid that is relaxing, and a lot of people are using supplemental tryptophan to put you to sleep. Turkey has a higher amount. It could be a good choice. Turkey at night, okay? Fish throughout the day. Sushi is ideal. Raw fish, let's put it right here. Fish. Now we have several other choices. If our workout was, let's say, maybe right here, this protein choice would be whey. Whey protein. Why whey protein? Because it's such a fast absorbing protein. 20 minutes after intake of whey, we're going to get all the amino acids available, and boom, we're going to have it in the bloodstream when we need it. If you remember post-workout period, we need quick amino acids, quick glucose, everything to be replenished. So here we have 2 more choices. We can have some dairy product, milk, cottage cheese, yogurt, something like this, or we can have a protein shake. Mixture, I would say, let's say, combination of proteins. I'm not going to endorse any products right now. I'm just going to tell you, at your convenience, at your preference, take protein that is mixed with whey, casein, egg white, even soy. Doesn't matter. Mixtures of protein together. So mixed protein powder. Okay? And let's say this can be, again, repeated here, or have some milk product, dairy product. Cottage cheese, non-fat cottage cheese is an excellent source of protein. So if you ask me, this would be ideal protein intake for each and every one of you guys. Ideal. If you can't do 100%, do as close as possible. But if you want to really have a Secrets of the Pros, Milos Sarcev diet, that would be about the choice. Now, its only difference is amounts. Example, I need 500 grams of protein as I'm 250-pound guy, 2 grams per pound. I'm competitive bodybuilder. 500 grams of protein in 8 meals. I need 65 grams of protein a meal. Somebody else needs much less. Take whatever is needed. Remember, 4 ounces of any meat is about 20 to 25 grams of protein, so it's easy to determine. What would this kind of protein intake ensure? We're going to have amino acids from all these protein meals floating in a blood system, so anytime our body needs it, it's there. We need to replenish red blood cells, it's there. Hair, muscle, heart, doesn't matter. When there's a need for amino acids, that's what happened. We have it. If you don't have enough amino acids available due to lack of dietary protein we take, our body has to break down the muscle tissue to get those amino acids needed. Don't do it. To the rest of your life, protein is a must. I'm also anti-aging specialist. And what is anti-aging? Why do we age? We age for exact reasons what I was talking about: slowing metabolism, changing your body composition. Average person becomes less physically active due to now obligations and jobs and activities. They have to do it on a daily basis. So they're not as physically active as when they were younger. They continue with bad eating habits, so they start gaining weight. And in the process, as they gain weight, they lose muscle tissue, metabolism slows down, and that's a cascade to have us age. To prevent aging is exactly this. Maintain the lean muscle tissue. If you maintain the lean muscle tissue, you're going to have a first and most important step of anti-aging. You're going to prevent decline in metabolism and decline in a lean muscle tissue. And that is going to be possible if you have a high protein intake. It's healthy, and this is the way to do it. We talked about some medical experts saying, oh my God, that's too much protein. Don't abuse the protein. It's going to be deleterious to your health. It's going to be, horrible for your, liver and kidneys, renal, hepatic toxicity, all this kind of stuff. Not at all. That's a nonsense. Medical experts will talk about high protein intake should be avoided in case you have some renal troubles. If your kidneys are not healthy, then yes, but this is very seldomly the case. Healthy individual that is physically active, is breaking down the muscle tissue due to the extreme physical activities. You're losing amino acids much more than the average person. You need more protein. So that is the must. And we had the energy, nutrients, either carbohydrates or fat. As I didn't discuss too much about Atkins kind of diet, ketogenic diet, high fat and no carbs, let's assume, just for the sake of argument, not to take any carbohydrates. We need energy, so body will take fat. And for some of you guys that try that kind of diet, I would actually periodically do this for 2-3 weeks. I will lower the carbs and replace my dietary energy from fat sources. You have to find the amount of fat needed to take you through the day for your metabolic activity, not to make you gain or lose weight. So carbs are not allowed, therefore you can replace with fats. If you do that kind of diet, replace with the healthy fats, with the nuts, with the avocado, olives, fish oils, healthy fats, yes, but not in this DVD. We're going to make a specialized DVD for that. For the Secrets of the Pros diet that we discussed so far, we chose carbohydrates as a preferable source of energy. Fat, as we said, it's minimal. Minimal, it's hidden in. Okay, egg whites have no fat whatsoever. But many of you guys can maybe throw in 1 or 2 egg yolks, and each egg yolk is like 6 grams of fat, so you're going to have some fats in the first meal. Mixed protein powder usually has 0 fat. Great. Chicken breast has some fat. Saturated fats, well, not much, but has some. So remember, we are not really taking fat, but it's hidden in here, in here, in here, in here, everywhere. So fat is hidden in all our protein sources except egg whites, which is 0. And in the fish oils, We have a considerable amount of good fat fish oils, so that's very good choice, and I would really encourage you to have a fish meal. So as far as fat, we keep the minimal. Only thing that I would suggest is add essential fats. Essential fat, flaxseed oil, or what I said before, Udo's Choice. Udo's Choice oil, I would say, for every human being here, take 2 tablespoons a day, and you're going to do yourself a great favor. Start with 2. I'm not going to even go into specific for people with a higher body weight that can take more, like 1 tablespoon for each 50 pounds of body weight. That would be my recommendation. But let's stick with the 2 tablespoons of Udo's Choice. That's all. So fat is already covered. Protein is covered, and fat is covered. And to now, each one of you, to conclude your own diet here. I don't have to help you. I'm just directing you. You're going to find the best way, most appropriate way to structure your diet. We had a protein, we had a fat. Now, only carbohydrates are important for us. 2 weeks is about a good period of time that all of us can determine where is our metabolic rate. So we're going to, for example, follow this diet for 2 weeks, monitor everything. If you can, write it down. And by the end of every day, every week, put how much protein, carbohydrates, fat. That's what I would do every time. And let's say you have 400 grams of protein, 400 grams of carbs, 100 grams of fat. First week, second week, by the end of the second week, you evaluate yourself and you see, okay, I'm improving. Great. Follow the same diet. If you are gaining weight and gaining body fat, unnecessary body fat that you don't want, I have to back off from carbohydrates or fat. Obviously, I'm eating too much. My energy intake exceeds my energy expenditure. So we have to recalculate, and lower either carbohydrates or fat. And another way also, if it's the opposite, if you lack energy and you're losing weight and you want to build, then of course you have to add more carbohydrates or fat. So that's something that you need to do on your own. Adjust the carbohydrate and fat intake. Fat not so, because it's really, we take minimal and only 2 tablespoons of Udo's Choice. So carbohydrates are the only one that you need to manipulate. What do we say about fibrous complex carbohydrates? Anytime. So anytime you want to have a fibrous complex carbohydrates, have it. You want to lose weight, you want to gain weight, you want to build muscle, doesn't matter what you want to do, fibrous complex carbohydrates are great source of minerals and vitamins, and fiber, necessary nutrient for us. So absolutely anytime. During day we have workout. That was workout. Okay. If you remember what I said for the workout, during and immediately after, we can have a simple carbohydrate. Even for the ladies that want to lose weight and they're on a specific diet. Now when I'm going to tell you, you want to have some sugars in your diet to lose weight, have it. You heard it from me. You're going to say, I'm out of my mind, but believe me, you can get away with the murder right here. After the workout, that sugar that you're going to have is just going to be sent right back into the muscle that you just trained to replenish the glycogen. So I give my clients a freedom to take simple carbohydrates, even the one that want to lose weight, is immediately after the workout. You want oatmeal cookies, you want pancakes, you want whatever simple carbohydrate you want, that's the time to do it. You have to be careful. Not, let's say, cheesecake, because, cheesecake is simple carbohydrate, simple carbohydrate with tons of fat, like 50 grams of fat. So be specific. When I say you can have simple carbohydrate, sugars, I didn't say simple carbs and fat. It's only sugars right here. For bodybuilders, we use sources like dextrose, glucose, Vitargo, maltodextrin, some of the carbohydrate in powder form because it's more available. It's something that we do usually mixed with our whey protein, right? However, if somebody really wants to enjoy themselves and their diet is very strict, even competitors on competitive diet, they are trained by me. I give them the freedom of having a simple carbohydrates immediately post-workout. Even during the workout, which is explained a little bit more on my website, but also is going to be explained in additional DVDs that I'm going to do here with the Fit Show crew, my friends that decide to make this possible. I hope that is going to be some interest. We're going to be looking for the feedback, and if so, we're going to make other DVDs regarding this. But to conclude, carbohydrates, that big mysterious thing for all of us, how to structure it. Fibrous carbohydrates anytime, simple only here. Starchy complex carbohydrates now depends. If you are endomorphic, you don't have much room, and they give you just 100 grams, for example, you can have some starchy complex carbohydrates in the first meal, right here. Oatmeal, grits, whole grain, let's say toast, whatever is your choice. Choose what you want. People will be like, oh my God, I can't have this. Or if you have only 100 grams of carbohydrates, have the worst kind of carbohydrate, I don't care. This is only 100 grams, your body's going to use it. So don't be thinking, oh my God, can I afford this or not? If you're on 100 grams of carbs, you can afford anything. For other people that need to watch the carbohydrate throughout the day, starchy complex carbohydrates are taken before the physical demand. So first thing in the morning, yes, absolutely, that oatmeal or bagel or toast or something like this, yeah, sounds great. It's going to give you energy for the next few hours. As your energy ran out, you replace it again. And ran out, you replace it again and again and again. That is the system. You take energy as needed, like driving the car. You drive from, let's say, LA to San Diego. You need a certain amount of gas. This is how much gas you put in. If you want to continue to Mexico and you don't have it, nothing's going to happen. So if you want to go to Mexico, then in San Diego you reload and continue. If you're going to be parked and do nothing, you don't need it. This is a matter of speech that I want to explain. It's same with the body. If we are physically active, we're going to eat from here to here, and then for a couple of hours we are inactive. We don't need much, so don't take it. You can take a little bit, just to hold you over, but not major amount, because if you take and your body doesn't use, it can be converted into the fat. So it's always taken as needed. And for ectomorphic, they have a high metabolism that pretty much anything they eat, they can gain weight. Every one of you guys can gain weight. Don't be discouraged. Just because it's harder for you, that doesn't mean it's impossible. It is possible, but you have to pretty much eat all the time. And remember, after 2 weeks, evaluate your diet. And if you're on the right track, great, continue. If you are not getting results, then change it. More than likely, you need to increase the carbohydrates. And for mesomorphic bodybuilders, competitive bodybuilders, I have a great success even with the top professionals that were already at the high level of development. So people would think that those guys cannot improve much from that point. They would, following the secrets of the pros diet. They need more, they want to build more muscle tissue. They have sufficient amount of protein, and now they add carbohydrates as needed. I would usually have with the top professionals 2 workouts a day. So we have 2 windows of opportunity to replenish all the nutrients. And always remember, body wants to be in homeostasis, its normal state. If homeostasis is affected, something is out of balance, body wants to compensate. If you train and you lose all these nutrients, body wants to super compensate, and that goes in our favor. Super compensation means putting more. That's a hypertrophy. So speaking in numbers, let's say our body loses 10, super compensates with 11 of whatever. Loses 20, brings back 22. Loses 100, super compensates with more. So whatever is lost, body puts more back. That's super compensation. That's why for bodybuilders, I like to have more of those training sessions where super compensation is available right after. So endomorphic, very limited with carbs. They can have it only 100 grams, for example, in the morning and maybe during or after the workout. The rest, they can have green leafy vegetables, fibers, carbohydrates, or no carbohydrates at all. Ectomorphic, that need a lot of energy, should have a starchy complex carbs all the way, and simple, throughout the workout and after. Mesomorphic, depending on their activity. Active mesomorph needs more, inactive a little bit less. But nevertheless, they need about, I would start with everyone, 50% protein, 50% carbohydrate. That's, from my experience, 20-something years into this, it's a very good guess. That's a very good guess that we start with 50-50. So if you're taking 400 grams of protein, good choice would be 400 grams of carbohydrates. After 2 weeks, evaluate, you gained weight, you're happy, continue. If you didn't, then of course you have to change it. Another thing that I just said, if you gain weight, well, how much weight did you gain? If you gain 5 pounds, then you need to adjust everything by 5 pounds, which is 2 grams per pound, additional 10 grams, right? As you progress and you gain, you have a more room to increase amount of protein, carbohydrates, and calories. As we were talking about metabolic activity of muscle tissue, so more muscle you have, now more is required for maintenance. So therefore, if you gain weight in a positive way, you're not gaining the body fat, you're doing the right thing. So here it is. That is Secrets of the Pros diet program. I hope I didn't bore you to tears with too many of this infos all at once, but I hope that by the end of the day you can see the logic behind it. We would look for a feedback. I can be reached as well at www.milosarcev.com. If ever needed to be contacted through the Fit Show, I'm part of the crew. We are in process of making a lot of DVDs. You guys can give us special requests, and I'm sure that we can accommodate you. This is Secrets of the Pros diet program. I sincerely hope you learned something today. I hope that you're going to try it, and if you do try it, I promise you, you're going to succeed. So until next time,